What is going on, guys? I'm a dating coach here in Chicago. I used to work for the world's biggest dating company back in 2008, RSD, and I also am one of the top performers in Coach Kyle's group for confidence and self-mastery. Without further ado, I want to bring you value today in terms of why displaying sexual intent, especially in public, is not a bad thing. A lot of guys get this wrong because they think it's creepy or it's inappropriate or things like that. However, the truth is that it's a natural biological thing to have. And without this, you won't be able to trigger arousal in the woman. And if you don't trigger arousal in the woman, it's hard to push things forward or actually have the types of experiences that you want or the polarity between the masculine and the feminine. So how do you do this and how do you overcome this? What I have seen found that has been the best that works out is having a container of some sorts in terms of bringing that type of intent and communication. And what I mean by a container. So for example, if you were to say something around the lines, something provocative, let's say the conversation is getting boring and she says something kind of ridiculous and you want to make it a bit sexual. You want to evoke this, by the way. Don't be passive. Don't be on the defensive waiting for the woman to trigger, a sexual topic. You want to be the one evoking this if you want to have the ability and the command to have the things that you want on demand. So the example of this would be the way you say that makes me want to strangle you. So the way that I say that is displaying sexual intent. Not exactly what I'm saying, but the energy and the vibe behind it. There's two ways that she can take it. And this is play, by the way, guys. This is game or whatever. So for example, she can take it, she can continue the role play and continue that way of being provocative of how so and what else are you gonna do? And like making the conversation way more sexual and the tension building up to the point where you're triggering arousal and what you want to do to her. You make it comfortable and you're leaving space in the conversation in order for that type of conversation and dynamic to happen. However, on the other side, if she doesn't want to go to that side and maybe feels a bit uncomfortable or you haven't yet tested the waters and made her feel comfortable and made the scene appropriate, she can go down the path of how strangle her why, or like why her statement was ridiculous. So there's room that she can go in is what I'm saying. So that's what I mean by container. Hopefully that makes sense. So statements that have double meaning with sexual energy and intent behind it. Okay. So having that type of dynamic will allow the conversation to become sexual. However, and this works with like multiple things across the conversation. For example, you don't want to just go up to a woman and say, "You have a nice ass. I love it. I want to do X, Y, Z to it," right? You want to have play and you want to have that intent behind it. For example, you can say, instead of saying that, you can, without the similar energy, you can say the same thing in a different way. For example, you look like you go into the gym a lot. I can tell you put a lot of effort into your aesthetic. I like it. This is a way different type of intent statement with that's more lighthearted instead of like straight up sexual intent. And the reason why I bring this up and why this is important, because a lot of guys don't want to feel creepy doing this, and or that they're going to get the the cops called. Like, there's nothing that you can do that will unless you're like harassing them or like threatening them in a certain way, right? And even so, you can always disengage from the conversation, and nothing will happen. Nothing will escalate if you don't entertain it. So if it goes wrong, you can easily like just disconnect and not entertain it, because then it will escalate. So going back to why you want to do this and evoking that arousal, because if you're not doing it and you're just going on the date and it's like interviewee and kind of like there's no energy, you're not going to get a second date and you're not going to get things where you want them to get to, and she's going to get bored as well. And also, there's a big misconception right now in terms of like, okay, do not show intent. It's a bad thing. Feel guilty about it, because the majority of people are guilty about even having these types of desires. And it's a desperate need right now, especially if you start playing with this and evoking it. People are have this desire to have those types of conversations. If a woman were to do that to you, man, you would be fully engaged. You be the one evoking that. You be on the other side, and you become the chooser instead of the one that's getting chosen, because you have standards and you don't want to settle for whatever you can get, man, and then wait like 8 months until it happens again. Okay, so if that's relatable, yeah, if you want me to go more in detail, ask a question, or if you want to see real life interactions of me doing these things, it's on my IG in the description. Anyway, have an awesome day, guys. Hopefully this was a bit insightful, and see you in the next video.